Good evening. I'm going to call this Health and Public Safety Committee to order. Angie, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Curry.
Here.
Councilman Mishler.
Present.
Councilman Henke. Also present are Councilman Holtz and Councilman Fish.
Thank you. Would you please read proposed ordinance 25-0-10 by title only?
Proposed ordinance 25-0-10, an ordinance establishing a rental inspection program for the city of Elkhart, Indiana.
All right, thank you. I will open the floor for council discussion, but at this time, just a couple housekeeping notes. Please have the record show that Councilman Henke has joined us. One, please make sure your cell phones are muted while in here and that all hats are removed. This meeting is for public comment only. There will not be a presentation by the administration. However, and also the committee members will not be answering questions. We are here to listen to your concerns and document them. And so the administration will hear those concerns and take notes and get back with you directly. So at this time, I will open up the floor for public comment if someone would like to come up and be heard. And please sign in if you have not already. Yeah. Go ahead, come on. And when you come up, please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Henio. Is this, can I put
Pull it down
slower?
just a little bit.
Okay, is this better? Okay.
Yes.
My name is Jennifer Henio. My address is 211 West Sycamore Street, Elkhart, Indiana, 46516. All right, and then I sign right here.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just want to say that I'm thankful for my landlord for respecting my privacy and creating a comfortable and peaceful living environment. For being a respectful and fair landlord, I truly appreciate that he respects my privacy and don't take advantage of my position. It makes a big difference in feeling at home. He is also a fair and considerate landlord. I'm also thankful that he has not raised the rent. It means a lot, especially these days. It's a relief to have a stable and respectful place to call home. Also, even though they want to keep people safe and an invasion of privacy, of people's privacy, there are billboards all around town that give people resources if there's problems with their housing. We do not need to disrupt people's lives, force unnecessary repairs, and create dissensions with housing providers, and when the housing market is already so expensive. I'm afraid, like my landlord, many people will sell and won't have a place to go at an affordable price, especially being only on Social Security. Where else can I go? Will people respect that? It's a tragedy that that little boy passed away on Wolf Avenue, but this is the equivalent of going after the gun manufacturer if there's a school shooting. Just because there's an awful tragedy does not mean we need more legislation and bigger of government. There will always be bad landlords. Like at the time, effort, and money wasted by the city of Goshen, who has full rental inspections, they spent going after Rod David Heiser. Decades of time, effort, and money wasted, and he was still a slumlord till the end. I have a daughter that I take care of, so looking for a home that's a 2-3 bedroom would be over $1,000 just to live. Who has the money for a place like that? It's a lot. Not even people can afford that. I am truly saying that I feel like this shouldn't pass because it's going to be hard for other people to find a place that's affordable and able to live peacefully. Thank you.
A point of order, Mr. Chairman. Does the public have access to the forum, the template?
Yes, Councilman Henke, I believe they are up at the table. For those that did not see them, there is the inspection list over there on what would be looked for.
It's an eight-page inspection form.
And there's some up here as well. Thank you, Councilman. Please proceed.
I'm Kevin Foy. I live at 30590 North Shore Drive, Elkhart. I'm also a real estate agent. Again, we have to voice our opinions against the rental registration. Not that it will do any good. It's already been decided. It'll just make us think you guys are listening. Didn't work the first time, so take it away. Because it was an election. Hot topic. Rest for a few years, try again. I listened to her speak last week about certain aspects of it. Said there was roughly 4,000 homes, and when it boils down to it, about 3,500 homes that were concerned about the welfare and well-being and everything about that person living there. What about the other 40,000 homes in Elkhart City? Weren't we concerned about those people? Their houses aren't the best of shape on some of them. Firemen fall through those roofs, fall through the first floor, second floor. Most of the fall throughs for the firemen that I've talked to, it's not because of the rotted floors, it's because of the fire. I used to have Section 8 properties inspected. Now this is federal. Was told by the inspector that we have to find something wrong each year because we have to make it look like we're doing our job. How long before it happens locally? I had between 800 and 1,500 per year, even though I kept my properties in very good condition. One year I pointed out, how come you didn't catch this last year? Well, I had to say something for this year. So, doesn't work. I had a property in Cleveland, had a fire, 10 o'clock at night, back when rental registration was here. Board up company come out, oh, no owner, no occupant. We're not going to board it up. We're not going to get paid. Left. Next morning I show up. I said, why wasn't I notified? Well, no owner. I'm on rental registration. Been faithfully signed every year. Well, the fire inspector had to go down to the city assessor to get who owns the house. Well, I waited for him to come back. He said, yeah, we don't have that information. I said, you're supposed to. I was told you guys were going to have thumb drives and everything else on your computers. Not a thing. I had to foot the bill for board up. I boarded up myself because the board up companies wouldn't do it and I couldn't turn it into an insurance company then. So I got stuck with the bill on that one. Code enforcement can't do the job now. Back a year and a half ago, I turned in 6 properties in the city of Elkhart that code enforcement should be enforcing, and they aren't. And I get the runaround. Mayor Rod has been told 6 or 7 years about these properties. I've come to your meeting, Mr. Mishler, and brought it up in the meeting. I've made everybody on the city council aware in that November meeting with pictures and drawings. And I get one excuse after another. I went to the code enforcement guy. I caught him in the parking lot one day. I said, hey, still nothing done. Which property are you talking about? Had no clue. So code enforcement, I don't think it's going to work. Most of my tenants need 24 hours notice. Most of them aren't real happy about letting anybody in their apartments. State law says 30-day notice to get anybody in the court. Gives an additional 2 weeks to move out. I get no help there. So I've got an added expense every time a tenant's in someplace. And code enforcement comes through and they don't like something because of who I am. And don't get me started about politics. How are we going to inspect 3,500 units with one person in a 3-year period? Physically can't be done because of scheduling. you're going to have people cancel at the last minute, and you're going to have to reschedule. Well, that's going to back things up. Big rental apartments, some of them are the biggest offenders. I've got a renter in one of mine, her daughter was in one of the big rental properties, and her new baby got sick and kept getting sick. Come to find out, the mom finally went over there and found mold in the closet after repeated requests from the management to do something. Finally, when she physically went down to the apartment and got somebody to come down there, they ripped the drywall off the closet, black mold everywhere. They moved her another apartment, health problems cleared up. But I'm sure that was probably turned into code enforcement also. And we had a three-month-old baby in there. So I understand what you're trying to do, but if you're not going to inspect all the houses in Elkhart, it seems like you're discriminating a little bit and going after the rental properties only. And yeah, I used the word discriminating. I just think if you're going to inspect, let's put it across the board fairly. Let's inspect everybody's house. It's in the city of Elkhart. I've got a property next door that's been sitting empty for a year and a half. Vacant. I'm losing money. Gone to the city about the homeless population. Oh yeah, we're doing something about it. But you go down 2nd Street and just about every building's empty because of the homeless and they camping out in between the buildings and what have you. We're not doing that job either. And that's been brought before here many times. Another big issue gets swept under the rug. Thanks for your time.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hi, I'm Conrad Hostetler. I live at on Aqua Drive, Elkhart, Indiana. You need the address? 25065 Aqua Drive, Elkhart, Indiana. I've been a affordable housing owner and a rental for probably close to 40 years now, 35, 40 years. And I've seen quite a few administrations come and go, but I think I was talking that I think this administration that's going on right now, the way it's been running and operated is probably the best I've seen in many, many years. And I just take my hat off to you because I see, even as you drive around the city, you don't see the trash, you don't see down on North. I have places down on North 5th Street and used to be Division, different places you drive, it used to be pretty rough. A lot of trash laying around. You just don't see that anymore. And things have really improved. I think code enforcement is probably doing they're better to work with on that I've seen in years. And the building department, it's a good working atmosphere. And sometimes when something's not broke, I don't know if we should try to break it because this could be this would be tough. I think it would be tough on them because there's it'd be a lot to do. It'd be a big something to take on, a big project, another 3,500 houses or so. And again, if it's good for the tenants, it's good for everybody. And but I'd like to see you get that passed. Trying to go into people's houses that are homeowners. And so if that's the case, it's only going to be a rental thing, then we're really, is it about class? Have we developed are renters lower class? Tell that to them. I don't think that feels very good. But that's kind of what we need to make the decision up for you. You don't know how to call the phone number because all you gotta do is make a phone call. If your landlord's not doing the job, you call code enforcement and they'll get on his butt and it'll get done. I guarantee you, it's happened to me, a couple times, and you learn. And, I mean, they're doing a good job, and I wouldn't mess with that, but there's no way you're ever gonna do that for the homeowners. I don't think anyone would be sitting here in a few years if you tried to do that. You'd all be gone. Good luck with that. But, but we can't lower that. We can't say that renters are lower class. I mean, you can't do that. I mean, that's just, you can't develop that class system. We're the homeowners, and until you become a homeowner, then you're down here, and we're gonna tell you that you don't have privacy anymore. That you just give that up. You don't have that right. And there's some tough words there, I think, if you don't comply. That doesn't feel very good, to be made to, you are gonna let us in your house, in your apartment. You will let us in your house, and we will see it. I don't care if you want us to or not, but we will. And that doesn't feel very good. I don't know. It does to lower somebody down to that level where they don't have a choice anymore. And that's what you're doing, is you're taking that choice away and saying, you know what, we're making that choice up for you. And really, we don't have to, because it's not broke. It works well. The wheel is moving good and everything. And they're so busy with all the new construction, and things are just, they're doing a great job. And who wants bigger government anyways? The state's trying to cut things, and the federal is too. And I think we need to tighten our belt too. And now, why do we want to spend more money? We got to watch it. And we got to watch that. That's an issue. And one other thing, someone told me that with the way the homeless system is, so many people homeless, there are a few people, if this would go into effect, that would be displaced and made homeless occasionally. And how that works is there's quite a few people that are doubling up and have people staying in their basements, have people staying in extra bedrooms. And if they knew somebody was coming by, they're going to say, you're going to have to get to going. I don't know where you're going to go, but you need to get going, because we're going to have an inspection here. You need to clear out of here. And you think, well, they shouldn't do that anyways. Well, but that's safer than being out in the cold, isn't it? Staying in somebody's basement temporary, don't we care? I mean, we've all seen it. I turn my head, sometimes. I just have to say, well, that's the way it is. I've never seen so many homeless people in my lifetime here in Elkhart, as has anyone. I haven't. And we don't want to make that worse, because it would happen. People would be might not be as helpful to their neighbor that is needing a place to stay. Yeah, you can stay with me for a little bit, especially if it's a time for an inspection time coming up. No, we're going to have an inspection. You can't come by. You can't stay here. That doesn't feel very good. But people need need to keep their rights and their freedom, and yeah, I think that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment?
My name is Sandy Buffman, and I'm a resident of Elkhart. I've been in my home owned by Dan Brulette for the last 10 years. This rental inspection proposal all it will do is displace hundreds of people, if not thousands. Good landlords will sell their properties. I, for one, cannot pay double the rent I'm paying now. The rent outside of my bubble is outrageous for a 3-bedroom anything, apartment or home. At 67, I do not want to buy a home, as I will not live long enough to pay it off. To force this on landlords, which in turn trickles down to the tenants, will cause even more homelessness to Elkhart County, including myself and grandchildren. At my age, I should not be worrying about if I'll have a place to finish raising them. To have strangers in my home to inspect exactly what are they inspecting? Are they vetted, background checks, bondable? Will they provide proof to the landlords and the tenants that they are? There are 2 apartment buildings, 4 apartments, 2 or 9 homes that are rentals in my immediate area, not to mention the rentals on the surrounding streets. We are talking 30 adults plus children in my block. Where do you propose all of us go to find affordable housing? If our landlords sell, and that is a definite possibility with some of them making plans to do so, I've been at my job for 8 years, 14 years at the job before. I have not had a raise in 7 years, and I'm at the cap for my occupation. So while rent rises, my wage does not. If you feel people are living in unsanitary or poor conditions, you can force them to clean up properties. Isn't that what code enforcement is for? You force landlords to do upgrades which you deem necessary, which in turn raises rent. I clean up my rentals, scrub my trash cans, clean up trash, needles in my area. I've picked up trash in the park. I let my landlord know there are repairs needed and they are completed in a reasonable time frame. I don't need a stranger in my home to tell me what my home needs. This is an invasion of my privacy and my comfort. Homeless was never on my bucket list.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment?
Bob Barnes. I'm here as a private citizen because I live in the city of Elkhart. I live at 205 Whitmer Avenue. But I'm also a county commissioner and represent this district. After reading this 3 or 4 times, this ordinance, it just baffles me how this administration thinks that they can just have access to anybody's private property. There's nothing there's nothing even constitutional about what you guys are proposing. And to me, it's nothing but a money grab. I'll lay out how I feel about this whole thing. You guys want a $60 inspection fee. Then there's a $100 inspection fee, a $75 re-inspection fee for people who have an issue and they can't let nobody in their house. So now the landlord has to go and schedule an appointment. Hey, I got to get this place inspected or they're going to fine me. They're going to fine me. Oh, up to $2,500. What kind of ridiculous garbage is that? You want affordable housing and then you want to sit there and dictate. That ain't American. That ain't even freedom. That's not even Elkhart. We're the city with a heart. I hear this all the time from this council. I agree. There are landlords that aren't good neighbors. But there's code enforcement out there already. And your code enforcement is I don't even have a term for it. There's nothing ever gets done. People in my neighborhood in Riverview, we just quit calling it. We got cars parked in the road. We got houses with 8 to 9 cars parked either out in the street where you can't hardly navigate the intersections. We call, oh, they're well within their right. Okay. Building up on north of town, the old Miles property. Where's code enforcement there? That was a multi-million-dollar built building back in the 70s or 80s. And it is trashed. All the windows of the architecture are busted out of it. You had the Middlebury School. Where's code enforcement there? No enforcement at all. Let people break in, tear up their property, and then the neighbors get to look at that mess. Did code enforcement get a hold of these properties when people were breaking into them and enforce it? The old Miles property has never been mowed. It's ridiculous that you guys want to propose starting a $95,000 startup fee, and then you're going to charge $5 for every person that's got a rental property. What for what? The ordinance says you're going to keep the money. You're going to keep the money in code enforcement. As soon as that till gets up high enough where you guys can use that money somewhere else, you guys are going to write a resolution or an ordinance, and you're going to pull that money and reappropriate it to some other department. That's not right. And these ain't fees. Anytime the government enacts a fee, that's a tax. No, either way you cut it. But I hope that common sense prevails off this forum or this board. I want to know how many open cases of code enforcement haven't been resolved yet? How many adults is more than enough for a property? Multiple cars parked in the street. I mean, come on. There's things you guys, this administration could be doing by cracking down on their own employees and getting this stuff taken care of. And this inspection, I live in a good neighborhood and I got a lot of houses. We got a few that don't take care of their property, especially on Joyce Court. You know, there's a daycare on Joyce Court. And I'm afraid a kid would get tetanus with all the stuff in that yard. Where's code enforcement there? You got, what, 8 pages? 8, 9 pages of inspections? You ought to go just drive around. There's none of this is being enforced anywhere. And as far as what we've done in the county, when we had landlords that didn't want to abide by our planning department or our code enforcement, there was after 2 years, there was demolition orders brought in, and we took care of it. So I'm just challenging you guys to do your job and to use common sense when you're trying to enact fees or taxes and call them fees. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment?
Hi there, my name is Jesus Barcina. I live in Bristol now, but I lived in Elkhart since 1996. Actually, Joyce was just brought up, and he has a point. We have code enforcement. I actually own a property on that street, and there's stuff all over a yard. They don't take care of it, and they've never been hit. And I've got a property on there. I put a new roof on it. We were working hard to it. And recently I have an opening on a property, and everyone said that prices won't increase. Well, people were out trying to outbid themselves yesterday trying to look at my house. So how can you tell me that it's not going to raise? It's a supply and demand issue. There's not enough houses in Elkhart County as it is. And then you want to take away someone's house, so those people have to go look for a house. I had people from South Bend come over and look at the house and Goshen where this is already being done, and I asked them, how's that going? Same as here. So we keep talking about South Bend's already doing this, Goshen's already doing this. They said it's the same crap. That was their words, not mine, and they're living in a converted garage that had no permits. So you're telling me that this is supposed to work, but I've got people that are looking for houses from Goshen and South Bend saying it doesn't work. So I feel like all you want to do is reach into my pocket and take just a little bit more, which, by the way, I already pay higher property taxes. I go out there, I do the roofs. A roof is not cheap. Now you throw in constraints on doing repairs as well. You know, you've got guys out there who are 3 months out. On my personal window, it took more than 3 months to get a window for my house installed. But I think last time I was in here, it was 60 days or something like that, and then we start to give a fine, $2,500 or something. That's not even feasible, even for a landlord. So, I mean, if you want to do this, great, but like I said, this is a supply and demand issue, and all you're doing is creating more of an issue. I think that we are right. We have code enforcement out there, and I can drive down the street easily and tell you properties that are not code enforced at all. So, and then $90,000, $40,000 for a car? Hell, I can't even afford a $40,000 car right now. You know, so, and I have a good paying job, and I have rentals, and even I'm struggling. I remember when $100,000 a year was great. That's not doable anymore. And like I said, I have the rent up right now. I have a house for rent on Reading Avenue. People are trying to pay $1,500 to live in Reading Avenue. Like I said, it's a supply and demand. So I think you guys want to do good, but I just don't understand how this is going to make it better. I think this is going to make it worse, and you deciding whether I can rent a property or not, and you're going to violate the tenant's rights as far as I'm concerned. I can't even do that, so how can you can do it? Just saying it. And this is a minority speaking to you guys. And by the way, the Hispanic community is the fastest growing community out there right now. And yeah, I think we need to, just saying, go out there and actually inspect, do our jobs then. Let's see some improvement, and then maybe we can visit this down the road. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment?
Name's Corey White. I currently reside in the city of Elkhart. I had the privilege, back in 2014 when we had this originally, the council president, Ron Troyer, asked me to chair a task force to review rental registration. So I was reviewing my notes on the report I submitted to the council president and to Mayor Moore on rental registration, the task force, and the recommendations, the pros and cons of it. So back then, we had about 3,000 registered properties. The state statutes caps that at $5 annually, so about $15,000 in income. The expense back then was in excess of $50,000 associated with just maintaining a registry, no inspections. So it was a net loss to the city of about $35,000 a year. They had tried to spend some of that money for police vehicles outfitted for the Stu Sattler Crime Fund. That got shot down. There's state statutes to establish that those fees have to go directly to benefit those who pay them, which would be landlords, rental properties. During the course of the meetings, which were tenants, landlords, members of code enforcement, administration, I found it really interesting. The building commissioner, Denny Carell, said 4 times during one meeting about a year into usage, we don't use this list. And I found it really interesting. The whole point of rental registration is so you have a point of contact. And the practice after a year of having it was, we don't use this list. Code doesn't use this list. Police and fire don't use this list. We spend a lot of money for staff, for support, for all these, and it was not used in any way, shape, or form. So all this hurts our lowest in Elkhart with our tenants. We're landlords, we'll never win popularity contest, but we're running small businesses providing housing generally for people who can't qualify for a loan. I remember times where about a third of my applicants would have suspended driver's licenses when I'd have a vacancy. I knew when my tenant got pulled over on their way to work for a broken taillight, they'd spend the night in jail, $1,500 to bail them out. They'd lose their job while they sat there for 3 days, and it'd be about 2 weeks before they'd have a new job. They'd fall behind in their rent, and they rarely got caught up. About 10% of my applicants would have arrest warrants active on file. It's better today, but all those folks need a house. Sex offenders need a house, and I don't want to be a slumlord, but I have to defend slumlords because they provide housing to people that would otherwise be unstable. Though some landlords will rent to someone who has cash in their hand with no background checks, with no credit checks, nothing, as long as they have cash. Our society benefits if those people have stable housing. The landlords are taking huge risks. In fact, I think they're absorbing risks that are bad risks because the landlords generally aren't the ones that trash the properties. The tenants are. No one wants that in their community, but the community's harmed if they have unstable housing. So we have to remember that the higher we raise the bar, even with our best efforts, we hurt those at the bottom. And that can be worse for us as a group because this is a tax. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment?
Good evening. My name is DeMarco Robinson. I've been a citizen of Elkhart all my life, and just recently I've had to make some changes and relocate. And so I won't take up too much of your time, but I do appreciate you giving me this opportunity. This is my first time coming to a meeting, so kind of don't know the decorum and the format of everything, but I'll do the best I can. But I'll get into this where it's affecting me personally, basically this problem that I have is a bigger problem than mine. But about 3 or 4 months ago, more like towards November, October, I had moved out to Williamsburg on the lake. Okay, and so the Williamsburg that I knew from the 70s, late 70s, I think is when they were constructed up into the 80s, was not the same Williamsburg that I actually encountering right now. And to my dismay, the community, the maintenance, the management, everything is deteriorated to the point to where there's a lot of serious violations out there, code-wise, as well as just the general quality of life type of violations. And so I went through the proper steps, contacted code enforcement, talked to the management out there, and it seems to be the same thing, the same runaround. Now, I did get a good response from code enforcement when they came out to actually look at my particular townhouse, but he had already been out there several times. And so it's not a problem that's new to the enforcement community, but it's a problem that's new to me. And so the quality of life that I expect is that when I leave my home, I don't expect to come back and then feel like I'm on police call. I feel like I'm running security. When I leave home, I want to come back and feel comfortable. Now, I can feel that inside my house, but I can't do anything about the surrounding apartments. And it seems to be that the socioeconomic status of the residents kind of dictates the quality of life. And I don't think it should be that way. I mean, I like to, if whatever I'm paying for, excuse me, I want to pay for what I'm getting. But in this situation, I'm paying, but I'm not getting what I'm paying for. So at this point, I got like 13 different violations, 3 of which have only been resolved. Like I said, I contacted the code enforcement, and they came out and they spoke with the management, and I guess they got something done on that part. But I still got 10 different violations that need to be addressed. I got a 3x4 hole in my ceiling that been there since February of 2024. Okay, these problems I have been noted since October, because that's when the Bradley Company took over as management. Okay, they came in and they said they're gonna do this and do that and do this. As of this point, none of the other issues have been addressed. They haven't contacted me since April the 1st. And I went back over there and spoke with the office manager, and they were supposed to have been sending someone that the drywall experience to patch the hole. Well, if they do that, they gotta fix the leak first, because I still got a leak. I can't take a bath because when you displace the water, and if it goes up too high, it's supposed to go into the relief drain. There's no drain. So when they remodeled the bathroom, they didn't install that. So all this time, there's no baths. Not that I'd be in a hurry to jump in the water, but the thing of it is that that option shouldn't be questionable. Everything should be up to par. Okay, there's garbage, trash piled up, mattresses. If you drive down there at any point during the week, you're subject to think that you pulled up in front of Goodwill, because people don't have that respect, and they don't understand that where they live at is important, and where they keep it up is as important as well. Because right now I feel displaced, because I'm paying $1,000 a month for a townhouse, and either side of me could be paying $200. And it's bad to say, but their initiative or their satisfaction with the way that they live in doesn't meet mine, because I'm the only one outside blowing out leaves and cleaning this up and doing that, moving trash, and everybody else, maybe they feel they don't have to do that because the rent's cheap. So, I mean, I've been hearing a lot of things this evening from landlords and this and that, and I understand your sentiments and I respect that. But if it means keeping the quality of life, living standards where they're supposed to be, where I know good and well, you wouldn't live where I'm living at right now. But I have to, because I don't have a choice. And you wouldn't do it. It's unacceptable. I didn't work 45 years of my life, retire, to be able to feel like I'm living in Washington Gardens from 1980. That's a bunch of bull. But at any rate, the thing of it is that if it means the cost, paying a little more and this and that, in order to maintain the proper quality of life, which I'm sure all of you will agree that that's what we all want at the end of the day, then that's just the cost of living. I mean, I'm on a fixed income, and I can't keep up with it either. But it's a bigger power that decided that, other than the people sitting in this room. If you want to talk about inflation and all of that, and socioeconomic and the classes, and this whole country was set up on class, race, class, economics. That's how this country works. And so there's nothing you can do. Your words are good, okay? But there's nothing you can do to change the way this country is set up. And it's always going to be the have-nots is going to suffer more than the haves, no matter what you do. But all I'm saying is that it shouldn't come down to money as far as feeling like when you bring your grandkids over to your house, you don't got to wait for the smoke to clear in the parking lot before you can walk into your apartment, because people doing stuff outside they shouldn't be doing. You want to do it inside your house? I ain't got no problem with that. But don't infringe on my rights because you feel that you can just do what you want to do because you don't know how to live next door to somebody. Okay? I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Sir, can I have your name again?
DeMarco Robinson.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment?
My name's Mary Klein. I take pride in my units. I also am one of the landlords that do, I guess I have a heart. I have tenants that I'm paying more house payments since the taxes went up than what I'm actually charging these tenants, okay? So I get it. I have a heart, and I comply with both of these. I have new furnaces in all my units. I have, if I can't fix it, I have a plumber come in. If I take and comply with this, I got in trouble with code enforcement a few years ago when all this COVID stuff was going on and all these tenants think that they can just run all over you. And I took in, they had me come in for the electrical, so I had it all fixed. I do that. I'm not one of these slumlords. I try to take care of my units, but I don't appreciate having to go through an inspection and find out somebody's gonna charge me for something that really didn't need. I have smoke detectors, I have carbon monoxide detectors, I have extinguishers in my units because my mother died in a house fire. I wouldn't want that to happen to anyone. Okay, they have them there, but this is not fair, okay? This stuff is not fair if you guys are gonna just come after us, because it's just me, okay? I am just me. I don't have anybody else. My income's me, and I don't, it's not from the units, it's from working, okay? So I'd appreciate if you guys not do that to us.
For the record, please, I'm sorry.
For the units,
Just for yourself, just for the public record.
29052 Old US 20.
Thank you very
Elkhart.
much.
Huh?
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment?
Nicole Reed, 1618 Cone Street. I'd like to come at this from a slightly different angle because I do feel like this is something that may pass regardless of the conversation here today. I manage a large amount of properties in South Bend, and I deal with the RSVP program there. I will say that we have a great relationship with them, and so one of the first things I did when I read about this is I called those folks and I said, hey, you guys have been running this program for a long time. If you could go back, how would you do this differently, and how would you be better than you are today? And they said, we never would have said we're going to go to every single unit every 3 years, because that is impossible to do. They also said that they would have taken a lot of time to work directly with their inspectors so that they weren't going overboard on things and potentially running landlords out. In one of the last meetings, there was talks about, hey, you know, an eviction would never happen, people would never be displaced. I can tell you that unfortunately that is not accurate. There have been several homes that were hitting a specific rental group, and as such, it is the product. There was enough violations that the owners did not feel that it made sense to continue owning that real estate, and they sold it, and unfortunately, those individuals had to find housing elsewhere. That was unfortunate because I understood their situation and what they could afford, and they were not in a position that they could pay for additional rent, and it was just an awful situation. I was reading through the checklist here. It's the same thing that South Bend uses as far as the International Building Code. There are things in here that don't necessarily make sense on face value. Elevators are already inspected yearly from the state. Fire sprinklers are also on here. Those are also inspected yearly. There are other things on here that I want you guys to be aware of, where residents would actually be the ones responsible for the charge and not the landlord. So broken doors, broken windows, things of that nature, or if a resident takes, which happens all the time, takes down their smoke detectors and their CO2 detectors, they do get charged for those things back. So yes, on face value, this looks good that you're trying to help them, but I just want you to be aware that the way contracts read, you could actually put additional cost on residents. Lastly, I have heard it said repeatedly that real estate is the same across the board. It is not. Commercial and residential are two very different things. They are managed differently, they are financed differently, they are developed differently. What a commercial owner could withstand from cost standpoint, a residential manager cannot. A residential owner cannot. If you are to institute fines that could be $2,500 per day, these owners will be forced to sell their real estate, oftentimes to out-of-state investors who frankly will not care. Many of the landlords here that are speaking are local, and they do care. You do not want to lose those kind of landlords in your community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment?
Good evening. My name is Thomas Glesia. I'm 500 State Street. Not sure I'm going to be as organized as Nicole there. You know, I guess of all the things I've spoken on in my 3 years of being activated here, I'm excited about the level of dialogue we have. I think this is very positive. I think there's a lot that you guys can take away from this on both sides. You know, I kind of sit here as a property owner of almost 20 years, you know, looking at an adjacent historic district that has been pretty much forgotten about, much like most of Elkhart. And there's a community that I've evaluated, had to live next to, thought it was going to add value to my property. You know, it's kind of like the historic this thing could be like the historic district, where it's the city obligating themselves to put the thumb on a community of people. You know, we have a historic district where people cannot fix up their properties because it doesn't meet a certain standard. We would have people that couldn't rent their properties because it doesn't meet some inspector's standard. We have to question what livable means, because what was livable when the historic district was built in the early 1900s was a far different standard than what was livable today. And then you have to question, well, we're going to keep it historic or not historic? Yeah, I just think there's a lot of questions, and every one of us in this room is going to come at this from a different perspective, and then we have to kind of come together and figure out how we all make it work, and that's going to be, should be, months of debate. But I don't even know, to some people's points this evening, like, why can't we just make 311 work? Why can't we just make all these things that are already in place work? I mean, they're already on the books. I report all kinds of things at 311, and I don't know that that's a successful program just yet. A lot of things take a lot of time. A lot of things go back and forth. And quite frankly, any street. I mean, this gentleman was being very politically correct when I thought he said that Elkhart was in a good place, and I don't think it is. You might go down one street and you make a left turn and it's going to drastically change. Whatever streets he's driving on might be great. And we all know Brent Curry streets are awesome. But a few streets away, they're maybe not so much. And that's kind of the struggle that Elkhart has. When we're 50% not owner-occupied. So we're in this weird dilemma. At what point, what number, what is our target? What are we really trying to do? Are we just trying to raise this a few percentages? If we get 5% more of owner-occupied, would that help change Elkhart? Do we need 25% owner-occupied? But right now, I think we kind of need some people to get out of the rental game. Because frankly, the 20 years I've watched, maybe not so much since 2008, but we all saw Sunday morning shows. We're talking about how you're going to develop wealth and build an empire through real estate. And let's come to my seminar and I'm going to show you how to do it. They never talked about the fact that you got to follow city ordinance. So you got this whole group of investors out there that aren't being managed because, well, they weren't sold the reality of the deal. They were sold the financial game. How do you make the numbers work and cash flow, right? And then, 5 years later, I'm supposed to do some maintenance, but I can, that's my money. That's my profit. When the reality is, it's probably the money that goes back into the property and maybe cuts into their profit a little bit. And maybe they rented to the wrong folks. And maybe, who's failed who here? Has Elkhart failed? Has the communities of Elkhart, the landlords of Elkhart, failed Elkhart? Or has Elkhart, city politics for the last 30 or 40 years, failed Elkhart? We need to look at both sides of this coin. And we have 5 or 6 coins on the table. The one thing I've been championing for a long time here with lots of folks in various places of the city employees or city officials, is why not start a verification program, voluntary, and from that there could be a rating system. We have it at restaurants. They get health department ratings. Why not we have grade A property owners? And if you want to have a nice place, you know where to go. And he gets peak money because he takes care of his stuff, and it's a public known thing. And he gets commended for doing a good job. But if we have a verified system of verified properties and verified tenants, all of a sudden you have people that want to rent nice properties and take care of them, connecting with people that want to have nice properties and take care of them and rent them for the market value. That's probably the biggest thing I can say tonight, is that we have to keep talking about all the different possibilities, because if we shove this through, we've done nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment at this time? Is there anyone online who would like to make a comment at this time? Okay, come on up, sir.
Good evening. My name is Dave Blessing. I've been a landlord here since the 1990s. And so I'm also part of an investment group that we take pride in having above average rentals. And that's part of a thing we sign up on. This does keep coming around. I've been involved with the other rental registration that was back years ago, and some of the comments that have been made, I agree with. The different departments that the city was supposed to be able to tap into never looked at it. And I even went to say, hey, where's this at? We don't even know it's out there. And it was out at the Elkhart Water Works. They didn't even know it was out there to even look at it. That's back here. So now here we are today. But different comments that I had. My thing here is I've heard it said from Mr. Conrad, code enforcement's doing their job. I only do certain air streets. There's other streets, like that has been said, that may not have the best thing in there. But I would say that you got rentals and you also have homeowners. Now, if you can drive down the street and make the difference, You know, I'd like to know how you do that. Now, the rental registration may help in that, but if you're going to do it, if you want the city to look good, those rentals over there and look good, and those homeowners over there don't look good, you've not done the complete job. Anyway, I got a couple things here that I can go through here and try to keep it moving. Obviously, I think they've done their job. In my areas, they've done a job. I might have a problem with that. But I don't think this is needed as well. Let me just be clear. All right? I think the things that Dave Hinkie mentioned 2 weeks ago over the different areas are still valid and need to be utilized. Today's world is different. You got people that can call. You got signs for fair housing, a billboard on Franklin. I keep bringing back. If you got fair housing issues, call this number. If you got code issues, there's different ways to get people's attention. And you guys are making excuses that you can't find the landlord. I don't see that being the case. What, 1 or 2 places maybe? So I think there's got to be some concession in that. So there's ways to get this thing done, not through this rental registration. It's been mentioned, it's invasion of privacy. You guys just want to come in and do the house and whatnot. It just searches unwarranted. I heard the presentation that was on that wall over there, and it was read that if a resident doesn't cooperate and a landlord doesn't cooperate, you'll have a forced warrant. A forced warrant. That bothers me. It just you talk about ringing. Where's that come into play? I talk about strong arm. I don't think that's the way to communicate this thing. And I love the way the one lady said about these are private landlords that are mostly here, and we're standing up for our rights, and that we're here to make our rentals do the right thing. And you're not taking that in consideration, because that's the majority of landlords here. It's only the few that you may have the comment about. All right, the city says they want health and safety. I heard that a lot 2 weeks ago. Health and safety, up and down. And I've said it to Alex, no one in our business wants to have a resident get hurt. We want to be safe, good, clean housing. May not be the best, but I take the thing that if I have to live in my rentals, I want that standard for my residents. But I heard it was also mentioned on a document on a FedEx back on February 4th, which none of us were even aware this was even going on, this whole topic, that you were also going to be checking for damages and maintenance needs beyond with the health and safety concerns. That's a pretty open, wide door there. You know, I like to trust government, like to trust certain people, but I heard it mentioned about South Bend. I've got rentals in South Bend as well. I know a little bit of that program, not as much as her, but I know landlords, when that first went in, it was costing landlord thousands and thousands of dollars because the renter inspector wanted it her way or his way, and it had nothing to do with the quality of the rental. It was personal preference, and it really caused a bad wrinkle in my mind, and for a number of landlords, wish they would have they stood up against it before they had a chance to. And I guess that's another problem. This kind of thing really has not been communicated properly to the public, because there's a number of landlords that have no clue that this is even being talked about tonight. That's a problem. You got this all got rolled out over spring break. And now we still, a couple of weeks later, there's still landlords that don't even know this is going on tonight. That's a problem. You're not done your job in being PR. I know you're on Facebook and all that, but I can call landlords and property managers that, what are you talking about? I did that today, trying to get people to make them aware of it. Anyway, I'll keep moving. So it's not personal preference about damages and maintenance needs. That's a problem. Now, I had a thing here, and it was talked about last week about inspection list. What's the specifics? Because you guys do bring up about the Aspire program, and you know the Aspire program by HUD is very difficult. When you mentioned that, I thought, oh baby, because the HUD, kicked that can down for 2 years at minimum because they know their own properties can't pass the mustard. 2 years. And it's still not into effect. They're supposed to do it this fall. 2 years. They can't even make their own property. And now I just got this list here, and we haven't really had a chance to, I'm glad to see it, because we asked for it, because you can't pass something with, we don't even know what we're going to be doing. What's the criteria? So I can't comment on this, because I really haven't seen much of it. So, but I'm glad to see it. All right? So, again, I know it's draft and whatnot, so it gives us a little framework of what you're going to look at, and that's good. But because at South Bend, it got ugly. It got ugly, and landlords will sell their house. It's just not worth it. We fight the thing with the residents getting paid, walk out, damages, left with thousands of dollars damage. People that have been landlord any length of time, no. I got one right now. Roaches, I mean, just on the list. Had to have someone trash it all out, clean it out. In this city, we're going to get it fixed up and turn around and get it re-rented. All right? The other thing that's different, it's interesting, is you guys have apartment communities in the conversation this time around. On TV, you had different ones, communities, picture-in-picture communities. I was surprised you guys included them, because the last time they weren't included. It was just us smaller in-city guys. I'm surprised they're not here fighting you guys tooth and nail, because that's money and time. Are you inspecting all those 100 units? That 100 unit over there, that 100%? You guys say 8,000 units. 8,000 units you guys are going to inspect. Is that 100%? Going to do some sample size, see if they're okay? Don't know. Your motivation to improve the standard of living, again, we've kind of touched on this, is desirable place to live. Code enforcement ought to be the first one to be able to say it. Where are you at on that? Give yourself a grade. The boss, give the code enforcement, you guys drive around, give them a grade. Inspect the inspector. Section 8 has that program. They inspect my house, he does it, passes. 2 weeks later, they want to come back. Sporadic, random. They want to come back. They inspect the inspector. Did he see everything that he was supposed to do? Has anybody on this city council or administration gone and double checked what these guys have talked about the different areas in the city? Validate it. See if they're doing their job. See if what they're saying is going. Again, I talked about this, the standard of the program. They've kicked the can around. You also talked about the communities doing self-inspection and the criteria that they have to meet to do that. Are you going to charge them the $60 a door if they sign off with, hey, we're all good, 100 units, we're good? Are you charging them the $60 a door? Or no fees of anything? Or will the city drop this whole fee thing for the inspections? If you're really, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, if you guys, or even to the commissioner over here, if you guys are so good about health and safety, drop the fee. Not that I'm proposing, I don't want the inspections at all, but that'll take one motivation. I'll get to that at the end of the program here, presentation. All right. Let's talk about affordability. Obviously, we all got expenses and whatnot, but these fees will or should be passed on to the residents. And it's because you guys add it to me. If a resident leaves an electric bill or some other bill to me, I pass it on. You are adding a bill to me. I am passing it on. And it's not just your $5 and your $60 fee. My maintenance guy, me personally, my administration, all this scheduling, all the time involved that I didn't have to pay for yesterday, I'm going to have to pay for today. Well, where's that cost go? I got 10 units, 20 units, 30 units, 100 units. That adds up. Someone has to pay for that time. Did any of you guys figure that cost into your calculation? I doubt it. So that's something I'm going to propose, that if we have to pay this, I'm passing it on. I'm going to change my lease, and I'm going to pass on an administrative fee of something along with this to cover my additional time requirement taken away from my business to handle your business. All right, I'm almost finished. Thank you for your patience. I don't know if any of you guys have done this on the fees that you're gathering. You guys say you're going to kick off 95,000 and you got this thing here. Have you guys done the calculation of how much revenues you're anticipating getting? Yes? No?
We're
not
not
commenting. Very
back
good.
and forth.
Well, I just did a quick thing. You guys did 8,000 units estimated, right, wrong, or indifferent. $5 a thing, that's 40 grand. 8,000 units times 60 is $480,000. Divided by 3, for a 3-year cycle, that's $160,000 a year for a $200,000 a year program every year with those two combined. That has nothing to do with the re-inspections, the irregular inspections, the third inspections, the additional damages, the 2,500, 7,500? Hello. What? Hello. So that's a grand total. So right there, right off the bat, I can see some money situation coming about. And the other gentleman that talked about when it gets to a certain kitty, you're going to make something that says, hey, bring it on over. You guys have tried to do that. Maybe not you personally, but this city council has tried to do that in the past. Corey mentioned that in the past. The other thing is this inspector. I've only heard one inspector being proposed. Well, 8,000 units, if you did a self-inspection of 50%, that left 4,000. I've heard 3,500. If you have a work day minus 2 weeks vacation, that's 250. That's 16 inspections a day to hit those numbers. Has anybody done that calculation? I don't see how anybody can do that for one person with that quantity, and that's at a 50% self-inspection. And you're still getting the money. I might be reducing my time, but I may have to pay someone to do that because I don't want to have the scheduling nightmare with all this. So, things to think about. The thing that this is one of those bills. Is this one of those bills? That come to my mind. Is this one of those bills or ordinance that we will have to pass and then see what's in it, or how it's going to be enforced and work? I don't like that scenario, and so I'm voting no on this from all the reasons that I've mentioned. And I hope you hear us out for everyone's talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment on this legislation? Oh, one more thing, folks. For those who have spoken, I hope you signed in. If you haven't, would you please sign in before you leave up there? Thank you.
Do that now. My name's David Wickstrom, and I have properties in Elkhart, South Bend, Mishawaka. Years ago, I know Dave Henke and I think Brent was here when they repealed this before. They said they had experienced, I'm not sure if you did, but they'd experienced the fact that it wasn't administrated fairly, and there was no continuity. There was no continuity in the departments. The city actually came to our association, Michiana Rentals Association, and talked to us before they even brought something up. You know, you need to have the players. I'm going to jump around. This gentleman here lives in an apartment complex, right? That's correct. From what I understand, the city is somewhat proposing, at least the person that came to our meeting said, that they're going to allow him to self-inspect. They're going to inspect his property? Did they inspect his property? You know, there's got to be an equity. It can't happen. It's another tax. People have said that. I'm going to try to go as quick as I can. People are trying the American dream. The city of Elkhart, Mayor Rod, councilmen, I hope, want to see people eventually own their own homes. And every time you add a layer of bureaucracy, you're up in the ante, pushing it, kicking the can down the road. Many people want to own their homes. And I've heard people say that they're making rental people a second class. I think they're making homeowners a second class as well. Because you're saying, I don't care about homeowners, I care about rental. Did you think of that? You know, we have houses that are in disrepair and we have houses that are great. And the cost of inspection, it's not done fair. It wasn't done fairly before. The rental registration. I've had time after time people come and tell me, and I've seen it firsthand, that when we had rental registration before, one of the landlords, the drug task force kicked in the door, and he was out of town, his tenant was out of town, and they went to the wrong house, and nobody called the homeowner. Now, it's real easy to find out who the homeowner is. All you have to do is Elkhart-County-Property-Taxes.com, and you can find out who the homeowner is. It's public information. So saying they want to know who to call, they don't call. They haven't called. I don't believe they will call. And it's also putting the city in a vulnerable place to open themselves up to lawsuits. Because people won't take this standing down, not just because of this, but if you come to me and say this, this, and this, and you don't have the proof, you could be opening yourself up. And it's been said before that, you know, it's a violation of rights. We could sit there and debate it. The city of South Bend dropped it because it wasn't effective. Said there's larger apartment complexes. If you go back to your own minutes in the city council, it tells you how it's going to work. It won't. So stop throwing something in. Yes, everybody wants safe houses. I understood somebody in a rental property died from carbon monoxide. How many people in homeowners' properties died of carbon monoxide? Anybody know? I don't. I suppose you could check it if you trust Google or something like that. But you have to understand, if one rental property, and now the Aspire, I think it's a great thing. They require 10-year sealed batteries in the carbon monoxide end, because we all know that somebody might need a battery for Johnny's toy, and it's easy to get. Now it isn't as easy. And there's other regulations with Aspire. You have to have the smoke detector with no less than 4 inches from the ceiling, no more than 8 inches or 12 inches from the bottom. There's a lot of rules and regulations, and most of us follow them. And as far as the city of, I went back to the state where Mayor Kaufman and Mark Brinson went down and spoke how great this program is. Well, we know where Kaufman is right now and what position he is, but it doesn't work. We went through the thing, we had someone from the Michiana Rental Association. They went through, and with the Goshen and the Elkhart, they have inspections. There's no difference. And somebody spoke of a gentleman there that I'm not going to name, that they fought for years and they didn't do it. So if you already have laws in place that are supposed to take care of this, why add another layer of bureaucracy to it? If you enforce your laws you have, it'll work. If the people do what they're told to do, the city and the housing providers, it should work. And there's always going to be something that slips through the crack, and I don't think we need to set any kind of rules and regulations on a isolated incident. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment at this time? Come on up.
Paul Thrash, 22805 Fair Oaks Court.
You make sure to sign in, sir.
Sure, I will. I've been a landlord since 1989, so it's been a long time. I still own that same house, and I take good care of it. The point I just want to make is I take pride in my property, and I feel like this ordinance is to punish the good landlords. You know, we take really good, because we compete. I compete against other landlords because they're going to go somewhere else. I want the very best tenant. So I build my houses up so I could live in it. And this is going to cause me more expense. I can't put that money back into the property. It's going toward administration, something I already know how to do. And I take offense that I'm getting bled to pay for administrators tell me how to do it. Now, the inspector we had last time, I like him, and he's competent. And I said, I trust him, but he's going to retire soon. And who's going to replace him? Does he know code enforcement? Does he, and going back, are we going to be able to find someone that can do that kind of work, that has competent? Or are we going to get someone just off the street that we just hire, and he's going to go in there and say, well, I think this is a problem. And then we're chasing our tail on something that's not important. Because people are people. They're going to find something that they don't like, and that's what I'm afraid of, that someone else is going to have different prerogatives. That list I read is huge. You know, it scares me. So I want to make sure we get competent people to do the inspection. But I don't want no one telling me what I can or can't do, because I do a darn good job. Because I love my homes. I love my tenants. And I think we're being singled out. I think all homes should be up to this standard. All mobile homes. We singled mobile homes out. Mobile homes depreciate greatly, but for somehow they're exempt from this program. Explain that one for me. I can't figure that out. Mobile homes are rough, but they don't have to be inspected. Got me on that one. I'll be brief because these guys did a great job. I think this whole venue has been wonderful. I think it at least gets the dialogue going, but I think we should table it. It's set up for failure. This is not going to make it. I'll just be real brief because I'm just to the point. I get kind of upset about it because I feel this decision's already been made. And we're going to find out the hard way. We're the ones that are going to suffer. Okay? I think all homes should be inspected or none. I think the marketplace keeps us honest. You know, if you want to come through my homes, you can. I think they're beautiful. The cost of the scheduling, my time's valuable. Now you're taking me away from my job. I'm an insurance agent. I can't sell insurance now because I'm taking care of something I shouldn't have to do. I have Section 8 homes. I got to stop what I'm doing. I go through the inspections. I value that, but it's taken up a lot of my time. I got re-inspections. So that cost has to be built into my time too. The other thing is, I want to make sure is, brought up last time, what if the inspector sees something that's illegal, like drugs? Are they supposed to write that up or take care of it? Or if some child's being abused, what's going to happen to that child? That's not the landlord's responsibility. I guess that's about it. I just want to make sure we value these inspectors. We're not going to be able to get the inspectors for the prices. And the other thing I have is a conflict of interest when the funding for this is through fees and fines. And so you tell the inspector, well, their funding is running out, so you got to go out and find some more things wrong to self-fund this program. There's an inherent conflict of interest to fund something by fining the homeowner for things that are wrong. I don't know if you ever thought about that, but that can happen because you're putting his job on the line. If he can't find nothing wrong, he's going to have to write something up. So, and again, I think when we have some bad landlords, we should address them. I know that because I insure some properties from owners that live out of state. And how can they manage this from afar? You know, why not talk to those? We're here because we're passionate about what we do. But there's people that live out of this community. Why don't we address those instead of addressing us? So I appreciate the venue. I'm sorry, a little excited about this, but I worry about this. I worry about big government. And we'll just write up a program and it's going to solve all our problems. It's not. It's going to create a bigger problem. So please, put this on the table. Let's keep talking about it. But let's just not push this thing through. There's many, many landlords that are not aware of this. And we're going to fight this. We're not going to take this lying down. So I just want to let you know we're out for what's best for everybody. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else at this time who would like to make a public comment regarding this ordinance? Thank you.
Yep. Well, so you know that I work for Guidance Ministry, and a part of my job is to help people so they do not become homeless, and for those who are homeless, to help them to find housing. I stand here today mad, and here's the reason why. I said I'm concerned that there will be ramifications where landlords will say, I'm done with this, and I'm not going to do this anymore. I was told that no, statistics show that there will not be any homelessness that will be derived from this. Well, I'm here to tell you. Last week I was informed and spoke. There was a landlord who owns 5 houses in the city of Elkhart. He is selling those houses. He has notified those tenants that he is selling those houses. He is sick of it, and that they need to find housing. Unfortunately, one of the things is he is a landlord with affordable housing. It is very, very difficult. As you know, we're in a housing crisis. It's very difficult to find affordable housing. I spend a lot of my time trying to find affordable housing for people who are on Social Security and disability and people who are the working poor. So I'm not a happy camper. I work with a lot of landlords, I am working with a landlord who is, some of my clients have evictions. Do you know how hard it is to get a landlord to let you try again? But I found one. This ordinance concerns me. Yes, I am telling you, it can indeed create homelessness for a fact. Because just even these 5 families, if they cannot find housing very, very soon within a 60-day time frame, affordable housing that they can afford, affordable housing that when they have a crisis and so they don't have the rent this month, that new landlord, wherever they find housing, will say, okay, you can make it up. Landlords that work with people, that work with them for deposits. I work with landlords all the time. They have the rent, but they don't have the deposit. These landlords are wonderful and working with them. We need them. We desperately need them. And I'm very, very concerned about this ordinance and what it's going to cause. Are there going to be other landlords who wants to sell? Landlords that I need. Seriously. I called Faith Mission today, and I said, how many family units do you have available? 0. I called First Light Mission and spoke with Mindy today. How many, is there an occupancy, or are you full? She said, I'm full. I said, do you think you'll have anything open? She said, you never know, but she says, we're usually full up all the time. So I said, What about females? I was talking to Faith Mission again. Did you got any female units? 7. 7. Anyway, you get my drift. I'm very concerned. There's lots of little details, you know, because I'm kind of that detail sort of gal and very pragmatic. You know, at 40-hour week, if it takes 2 hours, that's to inspect, that's 20 units per week, which is 1,060 rental units that an inspector can see per year. But I had read a statistic that said there's 8,000 apartment units in the city of Elkhart, which means that would take 7.55 years to get to every single one of them. Now, that's not including re-inspections if something's wrong. Anyway, I'm going on, and my biggest thing is, because my job is to make sure that people are not homeless, or if they are, I've got to be able to find affordable housing. And we are in a major, major housing crisis in the city of Elkhart, and I'm concerned about this.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment? Yep, you can. If you'll be brief, please, to give others the opportunity. Please wait until you're at the microphone so it can go on the record, sir.
Point's been brought up about out-of-state landlords, and what happens is, how many of you people get 10 to 20 cards a week of out-of-state investors who want to buy your homes? Everybody does, okay? The second thing I want to say that's not necessarily a city thing is, I have some homes that are below market rate. And when I go to pay my taxes, the taxes says that they are supposed to do the gross rent multiplier. They said, sir, we can't. We don't find any that low. So they say they want housing that's affordable, but then if you do it, they don't acknowledge it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has not spoken yet who would like to speak at this time? Anyone else? Anyone online who would like to speak at this time? Okay. So here is the order of operations, what's going to happen next. So one of these gentlemen will make a recommendation. We'll have a vote on it. And that recommendation will go to the council of a whole. And at that time, Council President Dawson will determine to either bring it out of the committee or to keep it in committee. We are only making a recommendation. This is not a final vote. This is not anything like that. And for those, we do have one more ordinance after this to discuss, which discusses financing the code inspection position for this program. We will also have a recommendation on that tonight. However, no final action will be taken. It will just be a recommendation for the council of the whole. I encourage anyone who has questions. There is staff from the administration here. I know we just handed out that information with the inspection guidelines and things like that. We want your input on that. We want your suggestions. That's why I insisted that that be here tonight, so y'all could have that copy with you. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion for this ordinance.
Chairman?
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Curry?
Yeah, I'd like to.
What's that? Councilman Hankey?
I believe, as we've looked at this, 14 were not in favor, 1 may have been in favor. Plenty of landlords that have a major stake in this have not been a part of the conversation. I think the best thing for everyone involved that we can do is keep it to committee, as you have in the past, and promote that communication that is necessary. That's what my recommendation will be, to hold the committee.
Okay. We have a motion for a recommendation. Is there a second?
I know you guys have been pressured to get it through, but I'm just saying, this is not good.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion dies to lack of a second. Councilman Curry?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think it's time to get this ordinance back to the full council, so I'm going to ask that ordinance number 25-0-10 be moved back to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
We have a recommendation from Council Curry. I will second that motion. Clerk, would you please call a roll?
Councilman Curry.
Yes.
Councilman Mishler.
Aye.
Councilman Hanky.
No.
All right, thank you. All right. Would you please read proposed ordinance 25-0-11 by title only?
Proposed ordinance 25-0-11, an ordinance appropriating $95,000 to provide initial funding to implement the Elkhart Rental Inspection Program.
All right, thank you. I'll open this up for council discussion, but similar to the first ordinance, this will only be open for public comment at this time. Again, this is just discussing funding the position, not the ordinance itself. That was the previous ordinance. Would anyone like to make a public comment at this time regarding this?
Bob Barnes, 205 Whitmer Avenue.
Thank you.
Citizen of Elkhart, taxpayer. I'm going to stand on this again, and I'm going to say it again. Your code enforcement for the city of Elkhart is they don't do their job. So why do we add into a department that's so dysfunctional that nothing gets done? 311 doesn't work. Calling the code enforcement department, that you do not get no phone calls back. I called twice this week. Last week, today's Monday, about the house on Superior that burnt. That's going to sit there, all boarded up. That house was reported to 311 numerous times, and nothing was ever done. The neighbors went over and mowed the guy's yard. I don't think we need any more employees added to a department that's dysfunctional as that one is. There's a boat that's off of Wood Avenue that got moved to the tracks just west of Middleton Run Road. That boat was reported last year numerous times from different people. That boat was moved somebody moved it to the railroad tracks, just right behind the EFP there. And now I drove by there the other day, and somebody had took the boat trailer that boat was set on, and it's still the boat's sitting there now. So I'm shocked that you want to recommend something that doesn't work. You've heard multiple voters ask you guys to table this. This is disgusting.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment on the ordinance appropriating the funds?
Well, what you guys did just shocked me a little bit, but here we go again. I think we've already spoken and have heard that this is going to cost a lot more money than what you're anticipating. And yet I feel like you guys are pushing this through. I want you to understand something. I am a small landlord, and I have already spoken with my realtor. If this passes through, I will be selling my properties. Like I said, this is something that I can't believe it's going this matter of fact, let me ask you this question. I look across, and I hate to say it this way, but am I the only Hispanic landlord here right now? Because I know plenty of them that have more properties than I do, so I want to know how far out this actually got. Matter of fact, I spoke to a friend of mine that owns 20 properties, had no idea this was going on. So where's the rest of the other Hispanic landlords or African American landlords? Is this just it? Like, we're just gonna pass this through and not even care what anybody, I just told you the Hispanic community is the fastest growing community, even in purchasing a home. I went to go look at a house yesterday to buy it, and I can tell you, somebody's gonna buy it. If an FHA passes it through, I mean, what standards do you guys really have? FHA is there to protect a first-time homeowner. I've seen VA loans too pass through. And then, I'm a plant manager as well. And then, so you guys are gonna hire somebody to check something. God knows anybody who's done any big management that when OSHA comes through or the fire chief, everybody sees things differently, whether they're a pro at electrical, whether they're a pro at water, electrical, plumbing, whatever. And we pay a company to come out and tell us, hey, this is what's wrong. And guess what? We still get hit. This is no different. Honestly, coming, and yeah, I'm chasing the American dream here. And you guys just want to spend my money like we don't have pockets like you guys. We can't just say, hey, we need more money. We're going to raise the taxes on you. And we try to keep our tenants happy. We have to find a certain threshold because people can't afford 15. I saw a home for 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom for $1,890. Never would I have thought that would have happened. But I'm telling you, you're going to see it more and more. Like, everybody knows, anybody that knows in the game knows, you just can't even buy a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom home for anything under $100,000 anymore. And the average person can't afford I think it's like $250,000 is now the medium home price. A starter home to me used to be $100,000. I remember my first property buying it behind Northside Middle School for $32,000. Good luck. And those renters that can't afford to go buy a home, where are you guys going to put them? I'm just saying, we have to plan out and we have to get everything, our ducks in a row when we go buy another property. And I feel like sometimes the city and the government itself just pushes everything through. I mean, the Department of Education's there. My wife and I were talking about it, and you have the Department of Education for what? A child in California could be taught something different than here in Elkhart, Indiana. So we know this doesn't work. Just saying, guys, you guys really need to go back to the drawing board with this one. You want my address, my personal address? Okay. But definitely reach out to the community.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this ordinance referring to the appropriation for implementing the 95,000? Oh, online? Okay. Go ahead, Louis Ann. You're still muted.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, sorry. Louis Ann Deputy. I live in the city of Elkhart. I do want to speak out, as it's probably been shown when you had 14 people who spoke against passing this, and you guys are passing it on to committee. It does prove that it doesn't matter what you say, you're going to do what you're going to do. But I will speak up in regards to the funding. It's $95,000 for 6 months. If you do that for a year, that's about $190,000, I believe. I would ask that you don't pass that. It should be held. As we just got done with the state legislature, and there was concern with local government having to cut expenditures based on the adjustment of property tax revenue. You don't need to be adding another position. So I would ask that you don't approve this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak to the funding of this? Being none, I'll close the public comment for this ordinance and entertain a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this ordinance, I also think it's time to get it back to the full council. So I'm going to ask that proposed ordinance 25-0-11 be sent back to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
I will second that. And I will ask the clerk to call a vote.
Councilman Curry.
Yes.
Councilman Mishler.
Aye.
Councilman Hanky.
All right, thank you. And once again, folks, this does not mean that it is passed. It was just sent from the committee to council with a due pass recommendation. I encourage everyone to stay and speak to members of the staff or us if you have any questions, and to come to the next city council meeting as well, where there will be a public comment there as well for folks in front of the whole council. Thank you very much for your time and for attending. I hold this meeting adjourned.
But we could have put